Hey guys, this week we have a Boring Jack takeover. Tons of interesting questions to get through and maybe even a wheel spin or two, so stick around. This week's episode sponsored by Boring Jack. Learn more about him on Twitter at Turbulence2. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Crap Vegas podcast.
Vegas, here we come.
Vegas!
Here are your hosts, Chris and Josh.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 72 of the Crap Vegas podcast. I am Chris. He's Josh. Josh, what's going on?
What's going on is, Chris, I don't know if you have this issue, but so last night I had to change some light bulbs, and we have a vaulted ceiling, right, in our entryway. And, you know, there's no second floor over the entryway, but we have a big chandelier. So they're like 30-foot ceilings or something. I don't know what they are, but 25 maybe.
30-foot
Well, I don't know.
Wow.
It's probably 25. I don't know, whatever it
That
is.
is very impressive, Josh.
Because the normal ceiling is what? I think we have 10-foot ceilings downstairs.
Somewhere between 8 to 10 for an
I
average
think we have
floor,
10-foot ceilings. So it's 20, 25 maybe feet. I don't know, whatever it is.
I mean, humble brag listeners. I mean,
I knew you were going to
Jeez.
say that when I told this story. So we have a chandelier that hangs down in the entryway, and it's
solid
got
gold.
Yeah, that's right. And it's got 9, 20, however many light bulbs on it on the chandelier. And we don't have a ladder that reaches up to the chandelier. So when the light bulbs need to get changed, I have to go up to our second floor, which looks over on the vaulted, on the entryway area. And I have 2 bathrobe ties tied together, and I have to lasso the chandelier, pull it over the railing. And I'm leaning over the railing, scared the chandelier is either going to come detached from the ceiling and come crashing down, or the bathrobe knot is going to detach and the chandelier is going to swing like a vine, through the chandelier Tarzan. And anyway, I had to do that last night, and it's terrifying every time I do it. I feel like disaster is going to happen sooner or later.
I mean, Josh, we're using LED light bulbs, right?
No, I think they're the old school, Thomas Edison.
That's the problem. See, if these were LED light bulbs, then they would last for 20 years. And you'd only have to do this one time while you own the house.
Probably a good plan.
You got all your light bulbs off like AliExpress and you have to change them every month. Is that what it is?
Pretty much. The worst part is they don't go out, they don't go out at the same time.
Oh, no. It's one today, 2 6 weeks from now. I got you. Yeah.
There needs to be, I know there's a gizmo that you can change like the inset lights from the floor, like that reaches up, an extendo wand kind of thing.
Of course.
But I haven't found anything that kind of hooks at the end so you can unscrew a bulb and put it back in.
Have you seen all those people that try to change light bulbs now using a drone?
No, that's a thing.
You see it all over the internet nowadays. They have drones that they put attachments onto, so they fly the drone up to the ceiling and slowly rotate the drone so that it spins in. I mean, Josh, if so, maybe you just need to hire a drone pilot or buy one for your
we have a
drone. Yeah, okay. You need to get one of the ones though where you put the glasses on so you can see exactly what the drone's doing. Like you have a live view. So you can like fly it in there, unspin that light bulb and change it. Boy, that'd be so cool.
Oh, that would go over well, me flying the drone in the house to change a light bulb. Anyway, what's going on with you, Chris? That's my light bulb changing story.
I wish I had something as exciting as that, but I don't. Oh, no, not much, Josh, here. It's been pretty slow. The kids have been out of school for the past week and a half because of the winter storm that came through.
Yeah.
Today was actually their first day back in session after Christmas, so they've been out for what feels like a month. So I'm just glad to have everybody back in school, getting back into the normal routine, and hopefully just have much easier days now.
Chris, I had one more thing I wanted to, that kind of is more relevant to the show than my light bulb story that I was gonna share. So I have we have a white elephant. Or what's the difference with Secret Santa and white elephant gifts? One is legit gift and one is jokey, but I always forget which is which.
I don't know. I'm not
anyway. One of our listeners knows. Joyce probably knows. Marilyn might know. Somebody knows. But one of them, anyway, we had one of those in my office, and I ended up with a word of the day calendar.
Okay.
And do you know what today's word of the day is? And I'm not kidding. As we're recording, I flipped it over, and today's word of the day is Aimsace.
What does that mean?
So Aimsace, and it's spelled Ambsace.
Okay.
Aimsace. And I looked. I was like, how's that pronounced? It's Aimsace with the like hard A's and Z, Aimsace. And it is an arcane word, and it's the lowest throw at dice.
Interesting.
Also something worthless or unlucky, and used in a sentence from Chaucer's Canterbury Tales in
I haven't read that in a long time.
1392.
Yeah.
O noble, prudent folk, in happier case, your dice box doth not tumble out Ames ace.
Wow. So, Josh, when we're playing together in a couple weeks, I really hope that you incorporate that into one of our sessions.
Isn't that something?
It'd be educational and fun at the same time.
Exactly. I threw Ames ace.
Okay, well, I guess this section of the podcast was sponsored by dictionary.com.
That's right.
With that said, Josh, let's move on and let people know how to get a hold of us. You can send us an email. That's podcast@crapvegas.com. You can join us over on our Facebook group. That's crapvegas.com/Facebook. You can leave us a voicemail. That's crapvegas.com/voicemail. Or the easiest way is always going to be on Twitter.
X.
He's at Vegas Duffy. I'm at Small Whale 13, or the show page is at Crap Vegas. And if you want to check us out on TikTok before it's gone, you got a day or two left. So get on over there.
I thought you were going to say and crapvegas.com is working.
It is.
Okay,
it
good.
was down for about a day or two, and somebody said that it was. Here's the problem, Josh. When these websites, when somebody says that it's down, I immediately go to the website to find out if it's down or up.
Right.
But of course, we use content delivery networks and stuff that are, even if it's down, it might not potentially be down for me if I've looked at it recently.
Right.
Or if I'm actually logged into the website on the back end, I can see it even if it's down. It's going to look like it's normal to me. So I'm like, no, everything's good.
I'm still stuck on what content delivery network means. I can't even change a light bulb. So
There you go. So from my perspective, I thought everything was fine. It clearly wasn't. I figured out what the issue was and got it resolved. So it is back up. So if you tried to go to the website and you had trouble, my apologies, but I'll make it up to you at the end of the episode. Just hang around.
there you go.
Okay, previous episode feedback. And since this episode is sponsored by Boring Jack, Josh, I figured
It's
have
really
to start...
sponsored by TravelZorg.
No, not this time. This is Boring Jack's episode. He gets the whole thing.
Oh.
And he sent us some feedback on a previous episode I thought we'd bring up first. He said, I liked your talk about gambling resolutions. Are there any things you now do habitually as part of a Vegas visit that started as a resolution or an intentional change of some sort?
That's a really good question, Boring Jack. And I'm glad you asked it. There are definitely things, I don't think I thought of it until we did the show. I don't think I thought of them as resolutions for gambling for Vegas, but I think there are some things that I do intentionally. I think about how I want to use my free play more intentionally. And specifically, I think I made the conscious decision to change if I had a choice, to change from promotional chips or chips to be used at a table to slot play or video poker play, just machine free play. If the chips would be free bet chips and not the ones you get at win, where you get to keep them until you lose. So that's one. I think about that. I think I've intentionally kind of made the decision to try and keep my play to 2 properties. And I think that was true last year too. It was Venetian and it was the MGM properties, instead of trying to spread it out over Wynn, Venetian, Caesars, MGM, that kind of thing. That was more intentional. I think more about being intentional about going to nicer restaurants and spa visits. How about you, Chris?
The only thing I could come up with, Josh, is that it's kind of a habit I learned from you. I've tried to start my gambling sessions on a new day, easing in at a slot instead of jumping straight into a craps table.
Right.
I don't think it really matters at the end of the day why, but it's just something that I picked up from you that I've started doing. So it's not really a resolution, but it's definitely an intentional change that I've made throughout the year. And I think I mentioned on our resolution episode last time that I am going to try to pare down the amount of casinos that I give my heavy play to in the coming year, just like you did in 2024. I'm just a year behind you, but that's okay because I have one extra status over you now.
That's right.
Okay, we also received an email from Taylor. Taylor said, listening to your all's gambling resolutions for 2025 was a ton of fun. I share a lot of the same sentiments as those shared on your last episode. One resolution I would love to see for you all in 2025 is to give a new property a real try. Set up credit, make the jump, and let us know what you think. I think Cosmo or Bellagio would be the best spot. Love the show and keep up the good work, Taylor.
Taylor, I think that is a great resolution, and more to come on that later in the episode.
We recently talked about Vegas needing a full-on Broadway show, right?
Right.
We received an email from Tom. Tom says, my vote would be for Rocky Horror Picture Show To me, that would be a perfect fit for a full-on thing, like a Phantom of the Opera sort of. Revamp the theater, just make it all, just awesome setting. He said he lives in Henderson. He almost never goes to the Strip, as paying for parking is something he just will not do. But if someone did that show, I would absolutely go see it.
I think that's a great idea. I think it would probably do well.
I do too. I still am a firm believer this would work in Vegas.
Yeah.
Rocky Horror would work. I do think Phantom might work. That's a little trickier than Rocky Horror. Rocky Horror has that kind of late night edge to it that
Venetian
I think plays well in Vegas.
Venetian had Phantom.
Did they?
Yeah, I saw Phantom at, I'm older than you. Venetian had Phantom back in
the 70s?
Probably. No, I don't.
Before the property was built.
Before Phantom was a thing? No.
Yeah.
It was probably the early aughts, the early 2000s.
Okay. Andrew Lloyd Webber was so excited about that, I'm sure.
That's right.
Okay, Josh, last feedback of the week. We got a DM from Pigskin Pie Gals. He said, we recently talked about crapless strategies, and he wanted to share his thought on the topic. Here's what he does. He said, crapless strategy I employ. Play the same way as on the normal layout, but play $25 on the extremes and full press the first hit. He'll go to 100 or 175 on those extreme numbers, unless a 5 or 9 hits before, and then he takes the 5 and 9 winnings and presses the extremes 25 each at that point. Not a fan of the 5 and 9 like you guys, so I like to move the money around.
I like that idea a lot. I do
too. I actually do. It's not something I had ever considered.
Right.
But Josh, as somebody that we struggle really badly trying to figure out what to play, it would just be our normal traditional craps buy-in, adding $100 to it.
$100, right.
Which is not that big of a deal. And I could even tone down my 6 or 8 to 120 instead of 150 and have most of it covered.
Yeah. And then just full press if they hit, because if we were at a normal table, that's just a nothing roll anyway.
Yeah, just a free roll at that point.
I like it. What could go wrong, Pigskin Pie Gals?
Absolutely nothing. I'm trying that on our next trip, Josh. I really like it.
Totally. No, I do too. I will.
So thank you guys all for your feedback. We'll keep it moving. Okay, like I hinted at earlier in the episode, Josh, listener Boring Jack took the time to type out an extremely thorough and detailed list of questions for us. He even split them into multiple categories. So I think it'd be fun to let Jack dominate the discussion this week and respond to his list.
But we're not going to have Jack on.
No, I mean, that would take way too much work. We're not doing that. I'm not giving him a platform to share some of his craziness, but I do like his questions.
They are great questions. All right, get us started.
Okay, category number 1, Josh, pre-trip dreaming. He said, one thing I like about Crap Vegas is its ability to magically transport me to Vegas and set my mind wandering.
Oh.
When you guys are looking forward to Vegas, what are you looking forward to? And specifically, he asked the following questions. 1, what are you most excited for that's going to be new to you?
So kind of taking a step back. Thanks, Jack, for the questions. They are fantastic. Taking a step back, for me, it's every moment. Like that gets me dreaming about Las Vegas. It's everything. What I'm going to do first, where I'm going to eat, will my room be ready?
Sure.
I like to be comfortable in my expectations, if that makes sense, Chris. And what I mean by that is I'm one of those people that like to know to some extent what's coming. I like to be spontaneous and that kind of thing, but I also like to have a good idea of, is this going to be a solo trip? And if so, I tailor my expectations towards being a solo trip and tailor my dreams about the things I want to do as a solo player. If I'm going to be going with you, my expectations are different and I get excited about those expectations, coffee dice with Chris or whatever it is. If I'm going with somebody else, it might be video poker more or drinking more or, that kind of thing. So I like to, whatever type of trip it is, I like to be comfortable with those expectations, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So coming up this trip, what am I excited for that's going to be new to me is I'm dreaming, because I'm going to be staying at a new property, which we kind of hinted at with, I think it was Taylor's question a minute ago. I'm going to be staying at a new property. So I'm excited about everything related to that new property.
Oh, that is going to be a lot of fun. I'll say for me, Josh, at least you and I have been to Vegas way too many times,
right?
Quantity wise. So there's not a ton that can be like super new to us other than like events and maybe some places here or there. But one thing that you and I definitely do try to do is every trip, we try to schedule at least one new like show or experience that we haven't done, whether it's going to some sort of game, like a football game or a hockey game, or going to a show that we haven't seen. We always try to put at least one thing we haven't done before. So for me, when you're asking what I'm most excited for that's new, it's always going to be, what is that show?
What is that
And
thing
like
we're
for-
going to do? Right.
And for this upcoming trip at Venetian Palazzo, I know we're going to go see Shin Lim,
Yeah.
who I'm very excited. I've seen him before, but I haven't seen him at Venetian. It may be a completely brand new show. I don't know. I'm really excited to see that.
And I haven't either. And I am really excited.
Okay, his next question. What are you most excited for that you've done before at some point?
I'm excited for Delmonico. I'm excited, assuming we go to Delmonico, which I'm assuming we probably will. I get excited for Coffee Dice with you. You know, I look forward to our first crap sessions of the day. And I always think those are fun, and just to kind of jump in, hopefully to an empty table. And I get excited about that stuff. And like I said, when I'm planning out my trips, I'm thinking about all of those things. I kind of game out in my head how the whole trip will go. Obviously, there's lots of changes and spontaneity involved, as I said, and stuff like that. But I get excited about those things. I get excited about our first little group slot poll thing.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Josh. And it really feeds into his third thing. He said, what is it you're excited for that you do all the time, but that never gets old?
Yeah.
I mean, I like our routine. I like the things that we do. I like playing Coffee Dice first thing in the morning, run by Starbucks, grab a drink, head to the table. Hopefully it's empty, and just hit the day running like that. That's always a lot of fun. I like our video poker sessions that we have all the time. I like our group slot pool things that you and I do where we pool our money together. We always have a couple good meals together. I like the shows that we do. I'm a creature of habit. I like routines.
Yeah.
And that's why I keep doing the things, because I enjoy it.
I think when we talk about what I'm looking forward to, I think you and I should, this trip, go out on the main floor to our little slot pulls and do some different machines than we've done before.
Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun to do too.
I hear a lot about Mo Money,
I
Mo
play that,
Mummy, or whatever it is.
That's a fun game. I play it a decent amount. And Josh, they even have it in the high limit room over at Venetian if you're looking for it.
There we go.
Last question on this area, Josh. He says, what amenities that you get from your casino, hosts, corporate offers, etc., are most impactful on your pre-trip anticipation? So what are they giving you that you're most excited about when you're coming?
Well, I kind of hinted at it. It's free play. It's
Okay.
me thinking about, I think about, okay, how much, and now that, Chris and I get a fair bit of free play now, and it's fun to think about how I want to use it. If I'm going to get there before Chris gets there, do I want to use it up all before he gets there, which is a risk
you did last time.
Which I did last time. And sometimes that means I'm, several $1,000s ahead. And sometimes that means I've lost all my free play and now Chris gets his and I got nothing out of the deal. And that kind of
Pretty
thing.
good gig.
Yeah. It's that. I think about how I'm going to use my free play. If we've already contacted the host and we're getting, like we're going to see Shin Lim, I'm excited about that. And that's an offer we've had already from the host. What about you, Chris?
I think you hit it at the end there, Josh. I mean, like the free play is fun, the hotel and the transportation, all that stuff's really cool. And I'm really glad it's provided. And I wouldn't go if it wasn't provided. But that being said, I'm always most excited pre-trip about a new show or event that we're going to. I think that's always what drives me to have a lot of anticipation for the trip, whether it's when you and I went and saw Lady Gaga. That was a ton of fun when we got those tickets. I mean, when we went to the soccer game, that was a ton of fun going to that. All those things are what really make me excited because, to be fair, we do the same things in Vegas each time, which we like.
Right.
But that's just a comfort thing at this point. It's not like super over the top exciting. It's just we know what we're going to do and we enjoy it. But the new stuff is really what piques my interest. Okay, Josh. His second category is along the lines of the direction you just went. He calls it slot talk.
Gotcha.
I feel like we should have paid a producer to come in and produce some sound effects for these different categories that he created, but didn't have enough time to do it. He starts with, both Chris and Josh recently mentioned they might want to play more slots in their rotation as their money seems to last longer there than at a craps table. I didn't necessarily take umbrage with anything you said, but as a certified boring gambler, this idea struck me as a bit scary and counterproductive. Slot machines have an uncanny ability to mask their large house edge and mask the quantity of coin in a player is generating. With all that said, have you guys priced yourself out of enjoying craps as much as you used to? And Josh, I never thought about this question before, but this is an absolutely terrific question.
It is. It is a really good question. All your questions are good, Jack.
They are.
Yeah.
Some are better than others, but this
is a good one.
Really hit the nail on the head, Jack.
So that's one of the, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but with slot machines, I have no idea house edge. I have a vague idea, but I don't know if, to use Huff and even more Puff as an example, I don't know what the house edge difference is between Huff and Even More Puff and regular Huff and Puff and Heidi or whatever other slot machines are there out there, Wheel of Fortune, whatever. I don't know which one, if you're just playing for house edge, what is the best slot machine.
And you're right, Josh. I think most people understand that like old school slot machines, like the old 3-reel machines that aren't on a video, the return is far better on those slot machines than these new video slots that they have nowadays. And of course, progressives can really skew that. Those games that have the huge progressives.
Right.
Yeah, it's great if you can hit one of those, but your return's going to be less if they didn't exist in the first place. I think people understand all that. But you're right. When we sit down at a slot machine, no matter what game it is that we're playing, the last thing in the world I'm thinking about is, oh, in the strip last quarter, they were holding 12% on dollar slot machines. That does not cross my mind at all, but I will consider like, oh, that's a 5% house edge on a craps table.
Yeah,
those sort of things do pop through my mind. So I think that is true.
Now, I am aware as we're playing, if machines have a progressive, that part of the house edge there is the chance of hitting that progressive. So I don't know if I'm making a decision based on that, but I'm aware of it, that if I play a machine without a progressive, I might have a lower house edge, assuming I don't hit the progressive. That your part of the house edge is factored into somebody's going to hit that progressive.
Sure. No, I agree with you there. But Josh, I think getting back to Jack's actual question about enjoying craps as much as we used to because of pricing ourselves out, I think there's some real truth to that statement.
Yeah.
I think that as somebody that used to play, 135 to 270, and now what has become 650 across, yeah, it hurts more when those sessions go poorly. So I don't play as many hours at the craps table as I used to because it's too expensive to do so after a while if it's going really poorly. Whereas if I was just continually playing 270 across, we could, double or triple the amount of hours at a table and really not have as many concerns. I just don't like it as much. So I do think you're right. It's not something I'd ever really considered, but I absolutely do think it's the case where I've got used to playing at a higher level, which just unfortunately means I know I'm going to have to play less. So I'm almost pulling myself away from the game that I love so much.
Yeah, it's an interesting conundrum, Jack. It's really, pricing ourselves out of it is a great way to think of it. I don't know if great's the right word. It's kind of unfortunate in a way, but
it's depressing. Thanks, Jack.
Yeah, exactly. I think about, but you're right. If we're playing 600 across or whatever it is, unless you're unlimited bankroll, which we're not, we can get broken by a session in 20 minutes. And if we were playing 270 across or 135 across, I remember when I used to do that and I could play for 5 hours. I can't even remember the last time I was at a table for more than maybe 2 hours. We might have a session that goes 2 hours if it's going, fair to Midland, holding our own and that kind of thing. But when the swings can be just massive at that level.
No, they absolutely can. And when you do get that positive variance that you're looking for, you typically leave pretty quick afterwards. Whereas if you're playing 270, Josh, the swings won't be as big. So you have a tendency just to stick at the table longer because you never really see that bump you're looking for.
And when we talk about wanting to maximize our tier credits and the benefits we're getting from the properties and things like that, that goes hand in hand, Jack, with pricing ourselves out of craps. That if we know our bankroll is only so big and we kind of are determined to play a 600 across in craps, we know that we could lose that bankroll really quickly. So we are shifting more, as we talked about, shifting more to slots to make that bankroll last longer.
So that leads into the second question he had for Slot Talk, Josh. He said slot sessions typically tend to be shorter than craps sessions. If you plan to rotate in more slots as a way to take a break from craps, do you have other things you might use as a break from slots? And I think one thing at least you and I have done a lot recently is if that break still means gambling, which it may not necessarily do. We'll take a lot of breaks where we just go chill back in the room for a couple hours and grab a lunch or just walk
do
around.
A gondola ride. Or
things like that, of course.
Right.
If that's what we're talking about, I do think that Josh and I have started playing a lot more video poker because the money just lasts so much longer. Even if we're talking about like 5-line dollar video poker.
Right.
So even that lasts so much longer than playing on a slot machine or even at a craps table. So I do think we find ourselves playing a lot more video poker to actually break things up. And when things get really bad, you'll typically find us at a video poker machine.
And part of that is thanks to you, Jack, for the whole video poker thing too. That's your doing. But
it's
I don't know. Until you said it, I was trying to think of, are my slot sessions shorter than my crap sessions? Maybe they are. I don't know. I was thinking about like our crap sessions have gotten shorter. So I think sometimes our slot sessions are longer, but there is one thing about slot machines. And I think slot playing regulars know this, like you can earn those tier credits quickly. And maybe to your point, those sessions go fast. So you do have more time to do other things. You know, if we're striving to achieve a certain number of tier credits, which you shouldn't do, but if that's our goal, you can achieve that much faster on playing slots. And then that frees up time for other things. That's not a good way to think about gambling probably, but it does free up time. So we have more time. I don't worry about getting my gambling itch scratched by going to see a show or by going to a nice dinner if I've got those tier credits accumulated on slot machines.
And maybe that's something you and I don't vary on a lot, Josh, but I think that's an area that you and I do. I do not pay really any attention to if I'm earning enough tier credits or anything like that. I really don't care. And part of that comes from the fact that I typically leave after one day.
Right.
At most, a day and a half is really what I'm playing. Right. So I'm never going to earn anywhere near the level of tier credits that Josh earns in a given year. I think at Venetian Palazzo, if I remember correctly, Josh, I think you tripled me up on tier credits last year.
Probably, yeah. And I know I did it at MGM too.
Yeah, it's same thing there. I mean, you are going to have so many more credits than I'm ever going to earn. So that doesn't bother me too terribly much. If I have a short session, I have a short session. If I don't earn enough points, I don't earn enough points. One thing I do feel like I'm in a good headspace on as a gambler now is that I don't care as much about where the points fall at the end of the day. Like I feel like I'm giving the casino good enough action.
Right.
And quite frankly, at a lot of the places that we go, it just doesn't move the needle as much as it should. So I don't care. And we've talked about this like at Wynn before, where my play now at Wynn is probably, if I had to guess, it's probably on like the magnitude of like a 5 or 6x change since when I first started playing there. And my offer has not increased at all. My base offer is identical to the first day I ever walked in the place. Now, granted, like maybe if they're doing like a gift card or free play, maybe it's a couple $100 more, but those are one-off things that happen just 1 week a month. You have to hit the right time. But like my base room offer plus resort credit, it hasn't changed.
Right.
It just hasn't. So to me, I do not care at all about how much play they get from me. And so if I leave after a day or if I leave after a half day, who cares? Maybe it matters a little bit more at other places like Venetian. You can see your free slot play. It goes up a little bit for me, the way that I played this last trip versus the trip before. But again, we're only talking a couple $100.
Right.
And you're risking thousands more to get that.
To get there. Yeah.
So it's not worth me paying much attention to. I only just kind of break my offers into like Wynn, where I never know what I'm going to get. Places like MGM, where I have what I call like almost like a meddling offer. It's kind of in the middle somewhere. Right. It's not great. It's not terrible. And then places like Venetian Palazzo, where my offers are by far the best.
Right.
And so I try to factor that in a little bit, but I just don't care about that stuff anymore, honestly.
Well, and that's kind of goes back to the last episode. One of my resolutions is to try not to care as much about that, to really focus on playing the way that either is comfortable for my bankroll or playing somewhere where I can really get more enjoyment out of the trip than feeling like I have to play to reach a certain level. And I'm just going to let as I said, pun intended, let the chips fall where they may. And if I don't feel like I want to play 600 across and craps, if I just want to play 270, I'm going to play 270 or whatever.
I mean, I think for better or for worse, Josh, I don't think the craps play that we give even matters anymore.
No, I don't either.
It really doesn't.
And our host has said that.
And they have. Our host at Venetian Palazzo will be the first one to tell you she doesn't care if we play craps or not. It doesn't matter. It doesn't move the needle for her at all. We give so much slot play and we're running so much through dollar-wise. Right. That's what's dictating our offer at the end of the day. We could play 135 across on a craps table. It would not matter. Our offer wouldn't change at all. It's just where we are nowadays. And I hate that because I don't think of myself as a slot player. I really don't. I much prefer playing craps. Right. But I think Jack nailed it earlier. I think it's just we play at such a higher level now that you got to do something to keep where you want to be. And I do like playing at some of these places, and I don't want to completely lose my offers from them.
Yeah.
So they get more slot play out of me now to offset the lower amount of time they get at the craps table.
We'll see if this trip changes. You know, my plan is to be intentionally different in a few things this trip, so we'll see.
So you said the word change, Josh. That leads us into Jack's final category, He said, here are some questions vaguely related to the topic of what's changed in the intervening years since you all launched your podcast. So over the past 3 years, Josh, he has a couple things that he thinks may have changed.
I like it.
First, he says Crap Vegas has yet to disband over creative differences.
It's
Even
coming.
it is coming. Even the CV Big Wheel didn't break up the band. What's the biggest compromise that you two have had to make with one another about the show?
So great question, Jack. And I read these questions when Jack sent them, and I gave this one a fair bit of thought. And Chris may have some ideas. I honestly can't think of much. I don't feel like I've had to compromise anything. I think, we'll see if Chris agrees, but I don't think we've had many disagreements about how the show should go. I mean, there's certain things I think I've had to talk Chris into, and probably the other way around. Like
The
when
Big
we
Wheel,
had,
exactly.
well, I didn't talk you into that. I forced that upon you. But
Well, that's
when we
true,
had
yeah.
when we had the Vegas Aaron Boy on and did that interview, that was something that kind of, I think Chris kind of didn't know what that was going to look like, and I had in my head how that was going to look, and I think it worked out well. But I don't think that was a forcing it on. It was just an idea that we hadn't thought of before, and I think Chris had those. I don't feel like I've had to make any compromises.
I mean, you're probably right, Josh. I think both of us are fairly passive people.
Yeah.
So if somebody else wants to do something, I think we're inclined to just go with it and not put up too much of a fuss over it, I think.
Right.
I can't really think of anything that, you promoted that I was like, just no, we're not
Right.
doing that. That's never happened. The Big Wheel at the beginning, I gave it a hard time. I didn't have a real big problem with it. And now it's become a staple of the show that people just laugh about. So I'm perfectly fine with it. The only thing I would say that we ever had, I won't call it a heated discussion
Words?
because you and I never really get mad at each other. It's never happened, honestly. We've never really fought, which is crazy because we are good friends.
Right.
But at the end of the day, the only thing that really crossed my mind was the idea of the length of the show and the frequency that it should exist. I know that we went back and forth for a while about whether this show should be weekly with shorter time or bi-weekly with a slightly longer episode.
Right.
And I think we both had different thoughts on the way that should go. And we landed on it being bi-weekly, but we kind of solved that problem if you wanted it to be weekly by now Patreon exists.
Right. We have our
So you
CVP
can
shows. Right.
You can get those quicker hits in and hear us every week if that's something that you want to do. We talked about that a lot. But outside of that, I can't think of anything that we truly fought over and had to compromise on.
No, and I don't even, as you're saying that, Chris, I'm thinking, did we have a disagreement about like that? That was, I
Maybe
mean, that's
we
as far
did,
as it
but
went.
Maybe I've just blanked it out of my mind that
well,
one
no,
day
I don't
was
think we
raging mad
disagreed
at
much
you.
either. Yeah.
Next question, Josh. I've heard you guys talk about some ways you've been bad influences on each other. Have there been any changes in your gambling habits that the other has spurred that you view as an overwhelmingly positive change?
Well, I don't think I've been a bad influence on Chris at all.
Well,
I
that's
think
not true
he's
at all.
I think when we think about positives, I think that Chris has been a really good influence on me about kind of shows and some nicer meals and things like that. I mean, pre-Chris, this is not entirely Chris, but like if I were going to Vegas, 3/4 of the trips I was by myself, and then one trip a year or so I'd go with my golfing buddies. I've talked about that, and we would do a couple nice meals and a poker tournament. Never a show or anything like that. So really the only times I went to shows in the recent Vegas past was if I was in Vegas with my wife. And now Chris, as my Vegas brother, we go to shows and we do nicer meals and things like that. So that's been a positive change.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Josh, because I never used to do that stuff unless, my wife or girlfriend,
Right,
whoever
right.
happened to be with me. I would do that stuff then. I do think that we have kind of pushed ourselves to get out and do different things that we wouldn't necessarily do before.
Right.
And go to places we wouldn't necessarily go. And I think that's great. From a pure gambling perspective, no, I don't think we've ever had a positive influence on each other from that perspective. You put two like-minded gamblers together,
It's just
they're
leads to
probably
bad
going to
things.
they're going to make some bad decisions from time to time. You're going to be coming back from that show when you're drunk at the end of the night and you're ready for bed and they're like, how about one more session? You don't want to tell the person
Right.
no, even though you never would have done it if it was just you. So that stuff pops up from time to time. But no, I don't look at it from a negative perspective. I think we've both, just helped each other enjoy the place that we like going.
Yeah. And I think there are directions that, like Chris might have an idea about something he wants to do on a trip and he'll kind of see if he can get me to go along or vice versa, whether it's playing more video poker or whatever it is. I think we kind of try and push each other sometimes to change our routines, and all that's great. I mean, going back to what I said, the nicer restaurants. I don't mind dining solo, but rarely would I go to a nice restaurant solo.
Sure.
And so that's a positive change that's come out of the show and of our Vegas friendship and that kind of thing.
Okay, final question, Josh. Do you find that your modifications to your Vegas routine are based more on gravitating towards good experiences or based more on moving away from worsening experiences? Are you more driven by the positive things that are happening and trying to continue that, or the things that really piss you off that you're staying away from?
I'm more driven to the positive. That's just kind of how I roll. But I think about the ways that I play that I like, and I want to gravitate towards those, or the things that I do that I like, and I want to gravitate towards those. How about you, Chris?
I think I'm pretty much the same way. The only exception I would say is that I do get really perturbed by hosts that rub me the wrong way, and I will run away from them actively if it gets bad enough. I've talked a lot about one property now that's been pushing that direction, and I still haven't completely jumped.
Right.
But I think back to like Bellagio, a place that somebody asked about early in the episode. I love Bellagio, but we had a god-awful host there that absolutely ruined the experience for me. I couldn't enjoy going because I was so stressed over trying to get the trip set up properly.
Right.
And I just could not communicate with him. There was no way to do it. So rather than fight back and forth with the person or go around them and try to fix that way, I just said, forget it. So I don't go to Bellagio anymore. It's because of him. So in that case, yes, I am running away from a bad experience, but I try to think of myself as an optimist most of the time. So I do chase positive experiences.
Yeah. And for me, I don't have quite the same intensity of dislike of some of the places that Chris does. But for me, it's where am I enjoying myself and where can I enjoy myself? Whether it's gambling, whether it's food, whether it's dealers, whether it's offers, hosts, whatever.
You're right. So after the break, we'll answer a few listener questions from anyone not named Jack. So stick around. You know, Josh, we haven't talked about Travel Zork in a little bit. We talk about Zork Fest and how fun that's going to be in December this year and how you can get those pre-sale tickets already. But I always forget about the fact that Michael really likes to focus just on the luxury travel side.
Yeah, that's really the bread and butter of the Travel Zork business, I think. And really, it's luxury travel. It's experience, it's great suites, it's fine hotels, all that kind of stuff. So, Chris, as we enter 2025, if you were to take a fancy, nice, luxurious trip somewhere this year, where do you think you might want to go?
You know, I've been thinking for a long time about taking the kids to Hawaii. I'm just a little afraid about the flight time coming from where I am. 13, 14 hours in a plane with 3 kids, especially a young kid. That could be a little bit too much, but I can tell you this, if I was going to do it, Michael would be the person I'd call.
Yeah, and I know that Michael, not only you talked about the flight time, I know that Michael and his team at Travel Zork Travel can even set up airline reservations and all that kind of stuff. First class, if you want those big fancy flights. He can also find some of the best properties on the islands. I know I've talked to him about the Four Seasons in Maui before. I know he's booked some people there, fantastic properties. For me, I mentioned it on our last ad. I think we're talking about doing a kind of a luxury train trip in British Columbia and Canada, the Rocky Mountain Express kind of thing. And if we do it, we'll definitely book it through Michael and his team at Travel Zork Travel. They are fantastic. Chris and I have both used them. Really great at making the experience wonderful, but also comfortable, and you feel reassured that you have help if you need it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I enjoyed my last trip that he took care of. It had a lot of personal touches you just wouldn't get if you weren't going through a travel agent. So thank you to Michael for that. And if you guys want to try Michael on your next trip, head on over to travelzork.com. That's travelzork.com.
And I'll see y'all at Zorkfest.
If there is one thing I am doing a heck of a lot more in 2024 than I ever did in the past, it's sports betting. And I tell you what, once it became legal in Kentucky, I tried every sporting app, bet, whatever you want to call it, that was available. But at the end of the day, Josh, I kept coming back to DraftKings. Their app is extremely easy to use. Deposits are instant, withdrawals in my account the next day. It's just awesome. Even better, and what I use a lot, it feels like every day they give me a random free bet on something or huge odd boost on something. Whatever it may be, there's just always some sort of benefit to using their app. It is by far the best place to bet.
And not only that, I've been using DraftKings a ton to help with my Fading Crap Vegas picks over on Patreon.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. I mean, they are the official betting partner of Crap Vegas, Josh. So that would make sense to use them. Screw those other companies. So next time you have a game you're ready to make a wager on, visit DraftKings.com to get started. Sign up with promo code CRAPVEGAS and you're going to get some bonus bets. Terms and conditions do apply. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable and expire 7 days following receipt. The initial stake is not included in any winnings. Got a gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Learn more at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms. Okay, Josh, it says, hi guys, it's your pal Troller Boy.
Oh, TB.
I'm sure you saw the coverage of that crapless session that featured a roll lasting something like 2 hours.
I did.
By any account, that is great. Maybe all time. But what is it that makes a roll good or great? We've had rolls where we've made more money in less time and some long rolls where we just did okay. But there has to be some sort of quantitative, non-subjective measure. I propose that it is simply the number of rolls before the shooter sevens out. On occasion, I will use chips to keep track of how many rolls a shooter has, but invariably I mistakenly give one of these counting chips to a cocktail server or use it as a dealer tip or a VIG or something like that. So I never really have an accurate count, but that said, I'm usually within 4 or 5 rolls. He said we had a 40 roll session recently. That's surely a good roll, but is it great? I'm very interested in your thoughts on how many rolls as a purely objective measurement makes for a good roll. How about a great roll? Keep up the great content. Your loyal KCS listener, TB.
TB, that's a great question. When I think about it, I was thinking about, is it the Cal, Chris, that has downtown the counter? You know, that has the roll counter mounted right on the table.
One of those every roll, and you get on the wall and stuff like that.
And I know that roll to win tables do, which I actually kind of like that. It is fun. And it's fun to know. I mean, the one time or the most recent time I played roll to win, I had like a 26 roll, and I was betting like $6 aid and 6. So it was
sure you killed it.
I felt like, of course,
I made $40.
But I don't know. I think, Chris, number wise, anything over 50, I think has to be considered very good. If you hit,
over 50,
I'm saying very good. Maybe that's great. But
okay, I would say great at that level.
Okay, well, I was going to go, like 60 would be great. I added in very good. You have good, very good, great kind of.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Somewhere in that range, but it's really hard to know. I don't have the discipline, TB, even let alone giving chips to cocktail servers or dealers or whoever to keep track of the number of rolls, and I wish I did. Now we've got our people that track everything. Mark Duvall comes to mind. Our friend Garrett Wong of Star Trek keeps track of all the rolls to help him make decisions about what to do next. And I'm afraid I would get into that habit too much.
No, yeah, I don't think I could ever track it roll by roll or anything, Josh. Here's what I would say. I would break it into smaller categories. I'd say, okay, so anything less than 7 rolls, bad.
Sucks.
Really bad.
Yes.
That's no fun. 7 to 15, meh, it's okay. It's probably a break-even roll for me, nothing special. I'd say 15 to 25 is a good roll. Made a little money. I'm happy with it. 25 to 50, you're getting in the
that's
pretty
very
darn good roll. That's very good.
All right.
50 plus, excellent. 75 plus, thank God that was amazing. Happens once every 3-4 years.
Yeah, I think that's probably a pretty good. Now I want to keep track of our rolls. I'm going to have to try the chip thing and see if I can do it.
Let's try that next trip, Josh. Whoever's not shooting, try to keep track of how many rolls a person had.
Okay, we'll see if we can do it like one session and see what happens.
I mean, if nothing else, Josh, you can always measure time.
Yes.
Because time is something that you can, you can look and say, okay, this roll lasted 17 minutes and it's the two of us at the table and we're getting a roll about every 15 seconds, 20 seconds, whatever it is. And you can get an estimate for where you ended up.
And Chris and I, we've talked about it on the show before. We occasionally will do that just for fun.
As a joke.
As a joke, right.
Start the timer. Yeah,
we will
do
and when
that.
we hit 3 minutes, it's that's doing good at that point.
We received an email from Nate. Nate said, hello and Happy New Year. Not sure if this would be a good topic for the show or not. Well, you made your way on, Nate, so it must have been good enough.
No, but still might not be good.
I thought I'd fire away. It still probably could be terrible. Who knows? He said, I'll be headed to Las Vegas in late April for a knife sharpening conference. He owns a knife sharpening company.
It's not a murdering conference.
I hope not. The commander, as he calls her, his wife, will be joining me for a quick weekend prior, and I wanted to get your feedback on which property to stay at. For background, they got married at the MGM Grand, and they've been out there together a few times since, but overall, she's not the Vegas enthusiast that he is.
Okay.
Most of my trips are for work or for the occasional sports-centric guy trip, and our 80% gambling our faces off. The commander enjoys playing video poker, actually blackjack, for free drinks, but is otherwise not a gambler. She will enjoy relaxing at the pool, the spa, a cool chill bar or lounge, not a club, a nice meal, a show. Typically, he gets comped rooms at Paris or Planet Hollywood, but wanted to take her someplace nicer. While we have the means, splurging on a room at Wynn would be a turnoff for her. I got a pretty good room rate at Bellagio and Resorts World. I thought about Fontainebleau, but I think the location would be a bit of a turnoff as we do like walking around. For whatever reason, Venetian Palazzo is insanely expensive that weekend. Given all of this, would you suggest that we stay at Bellagio, Resorts World, or some other property I'm overlooking potentially? I'm torn as I really like the location of Bellagio and the pool, but find the place stuffy. I've only ever walked through Resorts World, but know nothing else about it.
Thanks, Nate, for the question. Great question, and thanks for reaching out. I was going to say, if you hadn't made the stuffy comment, I was going to kind of naturally settle on Bellagio. I wouldn't do Resorts World, and I hate to kind of diss Resorts World too much, and it has the pool and the spa and that kind of stuff, but you can't go out and wander around outside Resorts World. I mean, the location is just limiting for that. And if that's one of the things you want, I mean, here's kind of maybe too off the wall, but what about like a Vdara for a nice place to stay that gets you very close, especially with the walkways now to Cosmo, and you've got Aria and Bellagio right there, just as an idea. And it's not stuffy in the way Bellagio is. It's a different feel, but I don't think of it as stuffy. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I'm there with you. I mean, I do think the Bellagio, it can give that grand royal luxe experience that somebody that's not a huge gambler would probably enjoy. They do have a beautiful pool setup. They have really nice restaurants. It's just a pretty place to walk around. There's shops that you can walk around on the outside. And yeah, you're just like dead center. You can't get better location. The fountains are iconic. I'm sure she loves the conservatory. I mean, there's just so many things there. And yeah, you are right. The place is a little bit stuffy, but I don't think that you feel the stuffiness as much if you're not gambling.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I'm curious. I wonder why Wynn would be a turnoff. Nate, I don't think Nate said. Did he?
He said splurging on a room at Wynn would be a turnoff.
Just
and Josh, I can understand.
Okay.
I think that's, I mean, we were talking with somebody about this recently, but a Wynn, just normal resort tower room, I mean, on a given weekend can be $700-800.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, Wynn's basic rooms are the best in Vegas. But if I had to spend that kind of money on a room, I probably wouldn't enjoy the trip as much either.
Right. If Bellagio's not exactly what you want because of the stuffiness, maybe Aria, Cosmo.
I was going to say, if you could do Cosmo for the same price-ish, then Cosmo may be a real win. They have a great pool scene there, a lot of casual dining that's nice and easy to get in and out of. It's a good place to be seen. He said that she really likes a nice lounge, so not a club. So I'm thinking, going to the Chandelier Bar and just hanging out there and having a drink, maybe playing a little video poker. I mean, there's no better scenery around if that's your kind of thing.
Right.
Okay, Josh, a couple other questions that he had. He said dinner options. He's currently leaning towards Mother Wolf and asked if we had heard anything about it. And I have heard a couple things, but I don't know if you have.
Only that I've heard kind of generally positive things. I haven't eaten there either. And you guys definitely should go check out Fontainebleau. But all I've heard is good things generally.
I've heard good things about their food. I've heard bad things about their service. That's popped up more than once from people talking about that place before. Mostly like bad attitudes among the people that are working there. Some really stuffy like sommeliers that were trying to be like over the top snooty about things. You hear that a lot. I don't know if the food's good or bad. I can't speak to it, but I can tell you there are so many good Italian restaurants in town that if you do want to get away from that, hell, you could even go into Batista's and have a great meal.
Well,
I mean,
it's not stuffy, that's for sure.
It's definitely not stuffy, right? Okay. Next question, Josh. He says, Atomic Saloon or Mad Apple VIP experience?
I don't know what you get for the VIP experience at Mad Apple.
I'm thinking, Josh, it's maybe like the seats that you and I had with a dedicated waiter and like maybe seats with a table between you, that sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think I would, if you're good with the raunchy part, I do Atomic Saloon anytime. I mean, that show is just so fun and so good. It's nice to have VIP experiences, and Mad Apple is a fine show, but I mean, I think Atomic Saloon is just so much fun.
I agree with you, and I even posted on my Twitter a couple months ago. I can't remember at this point, Josh. Atomic Saloon's been doing some great specials where you got like 2 tickets and 2 hot dogs for like $100, like super cheap, like Mad Apple pricing on a normal day. definitely recommend doing that. If you can do both, do both. But I would agree with Josh. I'd rather go to Atomic Saloon and be in a normal seat or on a pew, depending on where you're sitting there, than going to Mad Apple VIP, even though I really did like Mad Apple. It's just not as good of a quality show. He also said recommendations on a chill lounge. I know that's definitely your seat, Josh. So you have probably a lot of opinions on this.
A chill lounge. Yeah, I mean, there's the lounge behind the Venetian High Limit area, the little Venetian High Limit lounge. Does that count?
Yeah, Josh is very familiar with that.
I got nothing on lounges.
I got two places that people that like those always bring up when I have conversations with them, Josh, but I can't speak from firsthand experience. One, the Ski Lodge at Cosmo. You hear nothing but good things about that since it's open, so I would definitely encourage you to check that out. And two, the Sky Bar at Waldorf Astoria. People love that place. It's very commonly talked about. I mean, I can't say firsthand if it's amazing, but I've always heard good things. I encourage you to check those two things out.
I've probably been to some lounges. I just can't think of many, but I'm definitely not much of a lounge guy.
And the last question, any particularly impressive video blackjack bar that would stand out to you, Josh? Now, you do have more experience with this.
So, Nate, you said video blackjack, or at least that's what Chris typed. And I don't know if you mean video blackjack or video poker, but I'm going to assume you mean video blackjack. And if you mean video blackjack, I don't know if I can be of much help. Other than some of the machines that have video poker also have other games, and maybe you can get a blackjack on there. But my favorite, and I think probably Chris's favorite video poker bar right now, is the one, we've talked about it before, in the Palazzo High Limit Room. And if that's what you mean, or if that has the game you want, that is a fantastic place to go and sit and get great drinks and play. Obviously, everybody knows about Chandelier at Cosmo, but I don't know for sure about video blackjack.
The only place that I know has video blackjack, because I remember sitting at it and playing it, Josh, and it's not the worst place in the world to get a drink. If you do happen to be over at Caesar's Palace at the bar in front of the sports book, they have a nice little bar there that overlooks all the TV, so you can see all the games and stuff that are going on. And they definitely have video blackjack on those machines, and they made a really good quality drink and even made Josh one of his pink drinks. So there you go.
I have a vague memory of you playing video blackjack. I don't think I did. I think I must have played something else, but
you didn't. Yeah, I'm sure you hit 4 of a kind a couple times and rubbed it in my face. But love the show and enjoying getting caught up on the Patreon content, Nate. So thank you, Nate. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hope that helps.
Thank you very much, Nate. Good questions.
Patreon. That's patreon.com/crapvegas. What do we have new over there, Josh?
Chris, we got a couple things new. We have our FCV show, our Fading Crap Vegas football betting show that we're very successful in. And it's a lot of fun.
At least one of us is.
Well, yeah. It depends. If you're fading me, you're also successful. It's a lot of fun to do. We have a great time doing that. And then we just dropped part 3 of our 2024 Best of Vegas series. Those are a lot of fun. We get tons of feedback from our patrons. They're some of the most fun things that we have to record. I think they do well listening to them. We had a new idea this year, really Chris did, about getting listener feedback and people that are on our social feedback and putting that into the show. So we have the public, our patrons and the public gave us things that we're commenting on for our Best of Vegas. So that was part 3 that just dropped. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I will say that part 3 had some of the craziest top 5s that you could possibly expect. And Josh, I'm not going to ruin it, but the best strip restaurant 2024, that was the most insane response I've ever seen in my life.
I mean, it's a good restaurant.
It is.
Anyway.
But anyways, you got to check it out. And also coming out on Patreon shortly, depending on when you listen to this, we're going to have the final couple episodes of CVTV with Casino Confidential, and we get to see how the show wraps up. And I hate to spoil it, but something really sad happens at the end of the final episode that I never expected.
Is it that the show is canceled?
Well, it definitely was canceled, but they didn't know that at the time of filming.
But yes, those are a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for your support. It means a lot to us. And Chris, we have some new patrons this week, right?
We do. Big thanks to Nick, no last initial given, so I don't know which Nick it is. Brad M, Taylor D, Andrew S with an annual subscription. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Tom F. And a special thank you to Tim from over at the Better Life. Josh, he did an annual upgrade this past week.
Well, thank you, Mr. Better Life. Thank you very much for doing that.
Upcoming trips. Josh, this is in a little bit of flux right now because I've had something pop up. We are going to be in Vegas theoretically, the weekend of January 31st through February 2nd, which means Josh will actually be there till the 4th.
Yep.
But I have had something pop up on February 2nd. So I'm not sure exactly when I will be there, when I come, when I go. Am I even coming? Who knows? Josh will definitely be there. I just don't know if I will or not, or what days it will be.
Yes. And Chris and I, well, theoretically, Chris and I, definitely me, will be the first part of the trip at Venetian. And as I hinted at, brand new property for me for the last 2 days of the trip, I'm going to be staying, first time ever, in a wraparound suite at Cosmo.
Congratulations, Josh. I love staying at Cosmo. I had a bad host interaction there that kind of scared me away towards the end. But overall, as a property, I love the rooms there. Yes, they're dated and they need a little bit of repair at this point, but you can't beat those terraces at all. They have, for you, somebody that loves casual dining, they have amazing casual dining. I mean, I love getting my food there and taking it back to the room if I'm going to do that. They have so many great options for, snacks and dinner and desserts.
Secret pizza, I hear all about it. I hear good things and bad things. I'm going to try it.
It's not that good, but I'd stay away from that. But Josh, they do have a donut place if you want a donut. But anyways, I mean, so many great places there to check out. I think you're going to have a terrific time while you're there.
Yeah, I know some of our listeners recently have stayed at Cosmo and haven't been that thrilled with it. I'm super excited. I've got speaking of what we talked about earlier, I got a line of credit set up, Chris. I am ready to go.
Nice. Nice. You are set and you're going to hit it full bore, I'm sure.
This trip, though, is going to be, my goal is to kind of be a lower play on my MGM side this year. So we'll see if that holds true now that I have the line of credit and everything like that. But my goal is to kind of play more 135, 270 across craps, play slots at lower levels, play a little more video poker, and just enjoy my time. Going to meet up with some listeners, and that's going to be a lot of fun. My Star Trek friend that I mentioned actually reached out, and he may join. We'll see what happens.
Nice. A friendly reminder to subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcasting app and to visit our merch store. That's crapvegas.com/shop. Josh, I went through and did like a year-end inventory of all the merch that I have sitting right next to me down here in the basement, and it's taking up way too much space. So I'm running a big sale. I didn't even get your permission.
I know, you're running a big sale.
All items are anywhere from like 15 to up to like 50% off. You don't need a promo code. Just go over there to crapvegas.com/shop. You'll see the sales price on every item. I've marked a lot of stuff way down. I need to recapture some of this space, Josh. I need my basement back. It's not fair.
I understand. So thanks, everybody, and you enjoy the discounts, whatever they are. They're on Chris.
That's right. Okay, Josh, we've made it this far. I guess that means it's time for at least a single spin of the big wheel.
Oh no, we've got many spins coming, Chris.
It's time to spin the Crap Vegas Big Wheel. Are you ready? Josh, spin the wheel.
Chris is excited.
Oh, excited.
Oh, Chris, here's one that is right up our wheelhouse. Well, more up your wheelhouse lately than my wheelhouse. But did you see the Wynn expansion news?
I did. It was very exciting to see that they're really branching off into jolly old England.
Yeah. So to give for our listeners that haven't heard, Wynn made a purchase of a private gambling club called Aspinalls, I guess is how you pronounce it. Probably. Aspinalls, something like that.
No. It's
in London. And it's like 20 tables. It's very high-end private gambling. And I guess it doesn't even generate a lot of cash. But the idea is they want to capture the gamblers that play there, these VIP gamblers that play there, so that they can have them ready for when in the UAE, in the United Arab Emirates, when it opens in 2027.
That it's not the worst play that they've ever made. And even if they can sneak them over to the U.S. in the interim, it would well be worth it for them.
One of the analysts said that this Aspinalls hosts a regular Bollywood night, and India is one of the top feeder markets for tourism in the UAE. The acquisition gives Wynn a flag in a gateway city that should help build a global database and boost Wynn's brand power in a region ahead of the blockbuster opening in the UAE. So,
I mean, leave it to Wynn to buy like a tiny little club of 20
it's
people.
A 20 table thing.
That forward thinking just to get them into their new property that doesn't open for another 3 years.
Kind of fascinating, isn't it?
It really is.
Anyway, so if you want to go, if we have any listeners in London that want to give us a trip report of, well, there's that too. They just want to give us a trip report of the new Wynn property.
Maybe they have a craps table since there's no more craps tables in Europe.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. All right. That was a quick wheel story. Should we spin the wheel?
Okay, why not?
Oh, interesting, Chris. Another win story. Who'da thunk it?
Wow.
Did you see? You probably saw. It's been all over socials. Michael Traeger of Travelzork mentioned it. The roll to win table is gone at Win.
Well, I think I hinted at this after my last
I think
trip
you
to
did
Win
too.
because I knew it was disappearing. They were actually uninstalling it the next week after I left. I think what really happened was that dealer Rick, they were going to put him on there. They trained him for it, and they realized it may affect the bottom line by at least 5 or 10% if they did stick him on that table. So they just couldn't do it. They just shut the whole thing down instead. Yeah, it's really sad. But Josh, that table never should have been there in the first place. Win doesn't have a ton of missteps when it comes to stuff like this, but this was a big one.
Yeah.
That does not fit their vibe, their personality.
No.
It's a different type of gambler than they usually have. I don't know why they thought that was a good idea.
And even when you think about, I mean, I guess it's easy to say this now, and it's when you think about all the different things out there, but when you think about the aesthetic on the casino floor, it just seems to me like it's standing out like a sore thumb kind of thing. Just
What it really was, because it was away from every other table game.
right.
So it was literally a sea of slot machines with this one weird roll to win table stuck in the middle of it.
I don't know. It just never, as you said, didn't seem to fit with Win. I guess I'm glad that they made the decision so quickly. I mean, it didn't stick around long.
No, I mean, gosh, what, a month? 2
Right.
months?
Right.
At most? Yeah, it wasn't very long.
Anyway, just a really quick wheel story. One more to go. Should I spin the wheel?
Okay, one more time.
All right, Chris. This is a little bit of a visual wheel spin, I think, which is interesting, given that we're
it's a
not
video daily double?
It's like a video daily double.
Okay.
So, Chris, do you want to cruise the Las Vegas Strip in style in the only street legal shopping cart?
If that's what you call No, I'm not a big style, country you and fan, I Josh.
Oh,
have completely different definitions of the word.
Okay, I'm going to post a picture to our Facebook group of the Cartzilla
Mm-hmm.
attraction in Las Vegas. The reason that this came up on the wheel was because I actually saw this thing out on the street the last time I was in Vegas, and I said, what the hell is that thing? So I had
Now
to
you
look it
know.
up and do a little research, and it came up on the wheel this week. So this is the only giant motorized shopping cart in Las Vegas. And this is not an ad. They're not paying us for this. But their website says this exciting, newest, one-of-a-kind thrill ride attraction has made its home to the world-famous Las Vegas city, which is weird. It's a mind-blowing 8-person shopping cart on steroids. It has a 400-horsepower engine and misters that keep you cool and a state-of-the-art sound system, and you can cruise in style in the ultimate Vegas thrill ride. What are your thoughts, Chris?
Yeah, it looks trashy.
It does,
it looks
doesn't it?
horrible. And if you look on their website, they actually they describe it as a limo experience.
Yes.
And if I just like booked this without really paying attention, I would be so pissed. Now, here you go, Josh. Guess how much it costs per person to ride on this thing?
Well, I was going to say it. I know it's $60 a pop,
It is. And that is insane.
but you get a
For
bottle of
that.
water,
Oh, thank God. I
and
mean,
kids get a free hat.
wow. I mean, it just gets better. What else? Tell me more, Josh.
Oh, I'm gonna, Chris. This is the reason that this had to be on the wheel. Okay, so back to square one to set the stage for everybody. This is like as if you're riding in a shopping cart. This open air thing that's going down the strip in this big shopping cart. Anyway, but that's not what I wanted to say. So on the website, Chris, I'm looking at the description of this thing for this show, and it says after all this stuff, you mentioned the limo, and it says whether you're a local or a visitor. Our unique experience promises fun, excitement, memories that will last a lifetime. Then the very next bullet point is, it all begins at beautiful Cypress Cove Marina and Resort. There is easy, close parking with 9 clean restrooms. Relax in the waterfront lounge as we prepare for your cat boat. And I'm thinking, what is there a marina in Vegas that I'm missing? And then the next bullet point is, over the course of your tour, expect to see breathtaking waterways, tons of flora and fauna, and learn the significance of being at the top of the Florida Peninsula. It's just like your own personal jungle cruise.
Okay, then. Well, they've really adapted it well.
They have.
Josh, this sounds horrible. I feel like now, after all of that, you need to interject and be like, don't forget to use promo code Crap Vegas to save 25%. But this sounds god awful.
Yes. The stuff about the marina was like tripping me up. I'm like, there's a marina that this thing is leaving from a marina?
Is it over at Venetian Palazzo?
That's right. It's at the Bellagio fountain. It's at the Bellagio the lake.
Okay, Josh.
Anyway, that's it for the wheel.
Okay, let's shut down the wheel. Josh, you got anything else before we get out here this week?
I think we should close with a serious note, Chris, that our thoughts are with everybody in California and the greater Los Angeles area that are going through or have family or friends going through all the fires out there. They're really terrible, and don't want to end the show on a down note like that, but we are thinking about you guys. It's just a horrible situation.
Absolutely. So thank you guys for listening. We always appreciate it, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Vegas, here we come.
Thanks for listening to the Crap Vegas podcast.
Have you ever been to Vegas?
Check out all our recent news and our Vegas trip calendar by visiting crapvegas.com.
See you in Vegas.
Phantom of the Opera ran from 2006 to 2012 at Venetian.
That's terrific. I didn't know that. Is this the learning section of the podcast?
What was the question? I'm going to start this over.
Take two.
Take two.
Computer, how many entries are there for Darmok?
47.